We are joined with Scoobert Doobert. How's it going, dude?
Pretty good, man. How are you doing yourself?
I can tell. What's up? How are you? Are you calling from San Diego, or are you on the beach, or is that just a green screen?
Yeah, I wish I was wealthy enough to actually be beachfront property, but I do live in San Diego. Yes, this is true. So I'm calling from there.
Dope. I was just talking about before the show. I'm obviously familiar with your podcast, Music Appreciation 101, and I was a little intimidated that you were going to have a better sound system than us, and I feel like you're already outshining us.
No, man. I mean, this is the same rig I record all my vocals on for my my project, this SM7B through a Apollo Twin. Nice and simple, but with the right compression settings, you're rocking.
I was actually going to ask that. I didn't know, I don't really come from a technical side in terms of audio production. Yeah, I didn't know if you could use speaking vocals and singing vocals on the same mic.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Especially this mic. This mic is awesome. I'm pretty sure it was the same mic that Thriller was recorded on, and it's not a high budget mic at all. It's very accessible for home recorders. So
really awesome. I mean, and if you listen to your stuff, you wouldn't even have guessed that it was recorded.
Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. Well, so before we get into anything, for those who might not know you, we have to talk about the name Scoobert Doobert and, of course, the mask. It all stems from the internet meme, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. It was one of those, it's like you come across some things in your life and you just hear them. You're like, that's it. I have to be that now. I've always been fascinated with the idea of kind of making a project for the internet from the internet that is just embedded in its very DNA. And I found this is a fun time to kind of transcend myself and my name and my likeness and whatever, and plug into this meme world that I've been a huge fan of since I was young, with those Rage comics and all this old internet stuff, E-Bombs world. I've always been about it.
Dude, I forgot about that.
Oh, I got you. We can talk history of the world. We've got time. We could get deep into memes.
E-Bombs world is something I remember. That was my first exposure to using internet as entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I even go back to I'm wearing an AOL shirt in some of my promo photos. That I remember getting that AOL disc from the store and loading it in and figuring out how to get onto the different chat rooms, and it's weird, man.
By the way, I was 9 and in these chat rooms, and people were saying the most filthy shit.
Oh yeah, it was I was way over my head, and my parents had no idea how the internet worked. So and even if they did, they tried to put those blockers and stuff. No way. You can't block me.
The youngest out of 4 kids, so by the time it got to me, my parents, they just didn't give a shit. They were like, internet's safe, do whatever you want.
yeah, right. The internet's safe.
No. But I definitely had AIM back in the day. That was my first communication platform. And again, I was far too young, so I think I mostly talked to Smarter Child.
Oh yeah. I mean, on my my second record, Swamis, I have a song called "Rest in Peace, Smarter Child" that's commemorating the death of Smarter Child, my virtual friend.
That is hilarious. Honestly, I wonder what he's up to these days. Thank you for calling in right now, because it's clear you got a lot going on right now. Your track, "I'm an Idiot," it was just picked up by Spotify's Fresh Finds playlist. You had a radio appearance at 91 XFM San Diego, and your LP, Big Hug, drops Friday. And if you're listening to this, it's already out, so go listen to it. How are you feeling right now?
Dude, I'm feeling good. It's just fun to be making music. I'm also working on some stuff. It's a little embargoed right now that because I was in New Music Friday and Fresh Finds, I linked up with some really cool bands. I got some remixes in the work.
Oh shoot!
Just making stuff, man. This year we're probably gonna hit about 33 releases, 33 individual song releases this year. And I'm gonna try and eclipse it next year. That's my goal.
That is amazing. So you got the Fresh Finds, and were people contacting you, or were you just this is an opportunity for me to network?
No, a bunch of people just slide in the DMs when you get on that, or for example, one of my favorite bands posted me on their story, and I was like, I'm not a big artist yet. I'm trying to get bigger, but it just those are the moments. It's geez, now there's a whole little world of opportunity that opens up, and hopefully my musicianship, my production, stuff like that can hang and keep growing.
No, it definitely can. I think, I was first exposed to your music, I think on SubmitHub months ago. Nice. And I remember listening to that, and I was just damn, this sounds I don't even want to say polished because it's just so legit, and not that you're not, but like, I don't know. It just seemed like it far extended, or like it should have reached so much more people than it did, at least at that moment.
Well, it's so kind of here. I mean, like what I'm trying to do with my music is, yeah, polished, I guess is not exactly the word. I think it's like honest, and like I'm trying to give people a full exposure to my sensibilities, because I'm playing all the instruments, I'm producing, I'm mixing, I'm doing it all on my little desk here. You know, it's not as like big production, and I'm not trying to make it necessarily sound like the slickest of the major label. I'm just trying to make it like honest and fresh, but also poppy and catchy and accessible in some ways, at least for the songs that are not named Rest in Peace Smarter Child.
Accessible is actually a good way to describe it. I think it was actually on your podcast that I was listening to. You were talking about how you don't mix like super experimental, like super experimental things. You'll kind of keep it on like your standard pop, and then mix in some experimental like layering or something, so that it's still digestible to like a regular consumer who might not know music production.
Yeah, I mean it's also what I like. Like I like pop core with like weird stuff around it. Like somebody like a Remy Wolf is like at her core she's a pop musician. And yeah, I want to be in that same kind of world where it's like, it's different, it's exciting, it's fresh, but at its core, it's still a pop song. You could play it on acoustic guitar and have a good time.
Yeah, definitely. Bringing it back to, weirdly enough, SubmitHub, I think Can't Imagine Feeling Better was the first song I heard of yours. Obviously, immediately hooked. Awesome. But I do want to bring up a conversation around the platform SubmitHub. Obviously, you had used it in the past. It's really polarizing in the industry. Wondering what are your thoughts on it? Are you still using it?
Yeah, I'm still using it. I mean, it's polarizing my own heart too. I would even imagine that somebody like to Jason, the guy that made it, who I don't really know. He reached out to me to do some Japanese translations for the site because he saw that I spoke Japanese. I'm like, man, I'm not that good. So that's like the limited exposure that I've ever had to him. But I feel like everybody, when you make a platform like that, in the same way that probably Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook feels right now, at a certain point, you love it and you hate it. And I think that you could say the same thing with SubmitHub. Like, I love that it's actually a path that has gotten me exposure. I don't think I'd be, like even something that a Spotify editorial playlister would listen to, because I wouldn't have had enough playlists or listeners to even pass that bar. And I think that SubmitHub helped me get there. But at the same time, it is a little hard because you see these like blogger relationships. They're not quite as rich because you're not like emailing back and forth and having these like deeper conversations. And that's why I appreciate like what you guys are doing with podcasts and TikTok content, all this kind of stuff. You help pull me out of that platform and into kind of what I expect the influencer, tastemaker, artist relationship to like be intended to feel like. And
no,
so I think it's like on all of us, right? It's not necessarily the platform's fault. I just think that it allows for a certain level of complacency to like listen to like 20 seconds of a song and like thumbs down it and move on with your day and collect your pennies or what, it's weird.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. I appreciate you saying that. But I actually kind of have on obviously the inverse side of things, but I definitely agree with you. I'm in it to like sustain relationships afterwards and like actually find artists that I really like. I think, which is the nature of it, like it becomes oversaturated really quickly, and anyone can be a curator. And like, I'm a curator because I work in the industry and I want to further expand what I want. Other people are just curators because they can make like 50 cents off of a song review.
Totally. And then it's like, it's interesting because then, we're like, so say that I pitch something and it costs me $1 or $2 to pitch it. And then I get 10 Spotify plays off of that. And I made 5 pennies and I spent $2. It's just this weird kind of like inverse return, but that's the whole music business. Like everybody's selling a dream, from Fender guitars to SubmitHub. It's all part of it. And so like you can resent it or you can accept it and try and make something better out of it. And I commend what you guys are doing. And I recommend to any other curators or influencers that are listening to this is the way to do it. This is what changes the whole value proposition of the platform and makes it human again.
For sure. Well, gee, thanks. I mentioned a little bit earlier, radio appearance, 91 XFM, San Diego. Was that your first radio appearance?
It was. So I've done one other, it wasn't like necessarily an appearance, but I did host an hour-long radio show in Munich for Ego FM, Ego 42 in Munich, which is an awesome station. If anybody is interested in like hearing some different European alternative music, they're great tastemakers. They got cool playlists, and you can stream their radio too. They've been really good friends to me, and I've charted on their station a few times, which has been unbelievable this year, with 4 different songs. And then 91X is my hometown station. I interned at a record label in Encinitas, my hometown. It's called Surf Dog Records. And I was like packing like slightly stupid radio promo CDs and like, you know, the normal intern stuff, listening to 91X, and then to flip it around. And then it's like, I'm in the 91X studio, this thing that ever since I was in high school has really influenced the kind of music that I make, their taste. It's pretty surreal. And I was actually their local break artist, which means they played my song on rotation for a month, my song Don't Worry. And so, yeah, it's awesome, again, to develop like a relationship with the DJ rather than just, it's like this ephemeral thing. It's like, no, I actually know this dude, Tim, and we're homies, and he's going to wear my shirt. And like, it's cool.
That's such a great accomplishment. That's so reassuring though. I think like, especially in the hometown land, were you like nervous on the show?
A little. Yeah. I mean, you're live on, and you can't swear or do anything. I said damn on accident, which I think is okay. As a swear? I don't think that counts as a swear anymore. So but yeah, it was just an interesting, like, I'm in it right now. But yeah, it feels cool, and it feels good to be making this career in the way that I've wanted to, where it is like human based, and it's not, I don't want to feel at arm's reach ever. I don't like put people over there and be like this famous guy. I'm wearing a stupid mask. My name's Scoobert Doobert. Like, come hang out with me and share some memes, and like, let's just be humans together. And that's like, it's fun to have that with the radio thing too, which is a dream, man. It's awesome.
I know it's really cool too to, you know, I feel like people are more pushed to do the opposite of be real and like authentic and silly. They're expected to fresh out the gate. Like, we'll work with someone who has like one song out, and they, you know, they want to appear as if they've already made it, and if they have like this clout or whatever, but it's just so not, it's very inauthentic. And it's so, if you listen to your catalog, specifically the new LP, Big Hug, you can tell that it's really just like a passion project that is very authentic and real to you. And it's funny because you had mentioned the song Don't Worry. I know obviously that comes from your experiences, but I feel like you literally wrote that song for me.
Yes, I love it. And it's such a real thing where like it's about like you have all these apps and these notifications. You're trying to be this self-help thing and be this like this guru, and you're set up to fail. You're going to always fail, and then it's going to create more stress for you trying to take away stress. It's just this vicious spiral of self-help technology.
Oh, for sure. The worrying about worrying. And it's also interesting. I don't know if you've seen it. I don't even know what, you know, news station or whatever broke it, but in response to like the whole Facebook whistleblower thing, other like people have come out and been like, oh, like our apps are literally designed so that you get addicted, and like when it's not there, like you get stressed out so that you need it, and like it gives you certain serotonin, so you always come back to it at certain times. It's a very interesting thing. Like, you think you're helping yourself when in reality you're just, you know, causing your worries to be even stronger.
Totally. And it's the weird trade-off that we have with technology. Like, I met my SO through dating app, not Tinder, way cooler one. But like, I have it's another love-hate relationship with platforms, right? You have these apps that are literally connecting me to the love of my life and also ruining my life. And it's amazing that it's like we're just taking humanity, everything that we are, good and bad, and just dialing it up. In the same way we're doing it like with the planet and climate change, and just everything is just faster and bigger and better than ever and worse than ever, all at the same time.
Yeah. It's like a never-ending cycle of just you're just I'm just constantly like I don't know.
No, for those that can't see us, we're it's like
that's right. I forgot that this isn't on video. I'm shrugging,
shrugging with the hands up to God. It's
Speaking
like
of social media, did you pass away yesterday when Instagram was down, or did you make it through?
Dude, this was I uploaded like one of the last photos before Instagram died, the one of me at 91X wearing the stupid mask, and I had so many texts of people like checking Instagram all day to see if it was back, and they just see my goofy face the entire time. I was like, you can't pay for this. This is like the best ad ever.
Accidental, like organic promotion right there.
Exactly, totally.
So
yeah, it was cool. It was actually kind of a relief. I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of a relief. But then again, I like DMing people. I like the live stuff. There are a lot of things with Instagram that I like, and a lot of things that I don't.
Oh, for sure. I'm like just now. I'm so used to. I think you've probably witnessed it too. Just as I've watched you grow. Maybe you've watched Music You're Missing get a little bit. More paid attention to. I'm just used to people not caring, and now that people do care, it's really weird to like social media. I used to just like post things because I had to, and now I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go live and like listen to some music with people. It's a, like you said, it's just kind of a funny thing. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it will literally destroy you.
It is. And I'm trying to like rethink my relationship to it too, where think of it like it is just that community rather than feeding the beast. It's like, I'll go live. Like last night I went live because it was a thunderstorm in San Diego. Never happens. And so we're driving back from dinner. I'm in the passenger seat, had a couple glasses of wine, and I'm like, I'm gonna go live. Not in a like annoying like, hey, what up kind of way, but in like, I'm gonna post basically ASMR just on to bless people's feeds, and like everyone was like, oh, this is so nice, I'm so at peace, because it's rain on the rooftop of the car with thunder off in the distance, and it was special. So it was like, just trying to rethink these things, trying to be a little less precious with it, and use it as a fun means to community rather than a means to become famous.
For sure.
It's I think it's all about the goals, right? Mm-hmm. Like the why behind all of it, and the mask has been freeing is in a way with that too, where it's like a little bit less about I have to look a certain way or do things a certain way. It's more like I'm clearly just fucking around.
Because when you're exposed to someone new, I mean, they already know your energy just by looking at you because you have a mask on your face. But I also think that's nice because it takes away, I think I also heard this in a previous interview with you, it takes away any like intimidation of like fan artist relationship. I'm so awkward in terms of like talking to artists in real life. Zoom, it's fine, in like anytime it's podcast related, but like when I meet them backstage or something, so awkward. And it's because that's like their holy ground. Like if I'm meeting them backstage, like that is their church. Everyone is there for them, and I feel like I'm meeting like the most powerful person, and even if they don't intend to like project that, that's what it is, and I get scared.
No, totally. And to an extent it's alluring for the artist too to feel that way, to be like fame is weird. Like if you go out in front of 10,000 people and they're all chanting your name, how bizarre is that? And how do you like adapt to that with our reptile brain to think that you're not God, And so it's all part of it. We're all like, how do we break that down? And instead of seeing like a mob of people, see individual people. And instead of thinking like I'm that cool because I can play guitar, realize like everybody can do something. This is just the thing that I happen to do. And hopefully people like it, but not have it be this thing that's like, now I'm transhuman.
It's funny because I feel like that vibe or that energy, that sentiment is exactly what I get from listening to your music. Cool. Specifically the LP Big Hug, which for those listening already out, but for you comes out on Friday. Obviously some tracks are already out. Is there any that aren't out that you're super excited to get out there?
Yeah, totally. So I have some collabs on there that I'm really excited about because I think that they're just, I don't know, I kind of picture the future of this project evolving kind of in a Gorillaz-esque way, not in the same like necessarily sonic palette, but like in the community vibe way where there are different vocalists, there are different rappers, there are different things like that. And so that's one of the things I'm excited about Big Hug, is I think that it like plants the seeds for that future tree with some really cool tracks with two of my buddies, Malik Loves Y'all, who's an MC, and then Jay Mesa, who is kind of like R&B vocalist. So I'm stoked about those songs. I'm also really stoked about the song that we're going to treat as a single called Heffalumps and Woozles.
Nice.
It is based off of Winnie the Pooh. If you guys are familiar,
Oh, yeah.
there's very classic Fever Dream-esque episode about heffalumps and woozles. They're like elephantine creatures, and I don't know why it just kind of came to my head when I was top lining this beat that I made years ago, and I was like, no, this is cool, and it's all about medical marijuana transitioning to recreational marijuana and turning it from this thing that's like I get high in the parking lot from like this sketchy drug dealer to like I'm buying weed next to my second grade teacher, and like my grandma's making me magic brownies, and like, you know, it's the song is all about like that rub of like this thing that used to be so, you know, hidden and secretive, and now it's like just a normal part of California life. That I can be like couch locked watching Jeopardy with my grandma, and that is a reasonable thing to do in life now.
Yeah, well, I'm actually really glad to hear that that's getting treated as a single, because
Nice.
that was one of my favorites.
Hey, right on.
From the project.
I'm so glad. I'm so curious to see, because it's like it's a non-traditional single, but at the same time, I think it's like very sing-songy. I don't know. I like the song.
I think
hope
it's
other people
also
do.
just everyone can relate to it. And
Cool.
I was actually, this is funny. We were celebrating my mom's birthday yesterday, and my dad got her 3 bottles of like CBD gummies. And I was just like, what the fuck? Why? And then I was like talking to him. I was like, if I did this like 10 years ago, like you would have grounded me. Like
I know,
now all of a sudden we
right?
can buy 3 bottles of CBD at Costco. First of all, it's not even real. Like you have to get that shit from an actual dispensary, at least in Massachusetts. But like, why are moms and grandmas just like popping edibles? Like they're going out of style now.
It's awesome.
And
I mean,
I
get it.
love it, but nothing's changed
No.
though. That's like all of a sudden society said it's okay now, and we're allowed to get high.
And think about, like, I was thinking about this a lot. Like my grandma that passed, you know, almost 10 years ago. She was in like a retirement home, like very traditional. And I was thinking about it, like, how much better would it have been if you were high doing the puzzles? Or like high at the cafeteria with whatever you want to order, or like all of these things, like you could just amplify that whole experience. And how different would a retirement home look if everybody was stoned off their ass? It'd be amazing. It'd be like a playground. It's so much better than what it actually is right now.
That in itself can be a whole song too.
I like that.
High
So
at the
one of the lyrics is Benny Goodman never sounded this good before the clarinetist. And that's a weird feeling to be listening to like 1920s and 30s big band while you're high. That's a special one too.
Funny you say that also. Obviously, I feel like sometimes if a song not overplayed but is like popularized and like really played, I often don't relate to it as much. Recently was camping, was super high by a fire, and At Last by Etta James came on. And like obviously that's like the cliche love song, but I was able to just like take away the clichéness and the fact I've heard it so many times and really just listen to it, and I was like, oh my god, I don't think I've ever felt this much.
I love that.
Like I just feel right now.
I totally get that. I feel the same way with Marvin Gaye sometimes, and like some of those the classic soul that you've like heard forever that's just kind of in your bones, and then to be able to, you know, either because you're high or just in the right spot, you can reimagine and listen to a song almost with fresh ears, and it just hits you. It's cool. And then it's like, I get it. I get why that song's that song. You know.
And then you say, I can't imagine feeling better than I do right now.
Yeah, I love it.
Had to mix that in there.
I want to hit you one quick camping story. So this is the first time I ever did edibles. I was at the Grand Canyon.
Oh, nice.
And I was camping at the Grand Canyon. I did a lollipop, which was like the cheapest edible that they'd have. I was living in Venice Beach at the time, and I had half of a lollipop, which is a completely indeterminate amount of marijuana. I had them several times after, and it was all over the place in terms of how high you got. So I you know, no tolerance whatsoever. I have half of this lollipop. I go into the restroom, and then all of the lights turn off, and I like can't find the exit. I don't know if I've ever been more scared than that moment at the Grand Canyon bathroom, lost inside of this cavernous bathroom alone, high off my ass.
That is unfortunately really funny.
It is really funny in retrospect.
Were you fine after that, or did it like mess up the rest of your time?
I was fine, but then I was like a little bit more like skittish. Like I'd be like walking back to the campsite and see a big shout. I'd be like, ooh. You know?
Walk me through how long were we in this darkened bathroom?
Oh, long time. Like way too long. Like, but then again, that's my perception of time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like it could have been like 2 minutes, but to me, I was just like,
minutes,
I was in
that's-
the void.
that's
I was
long.
completely swallowed by void.
And there's no way that shit had natural lighting in there. That was pitch black.
Oh no, it was dark out. We're in the middle of the Grand Canyon area. Like there's no ambient lights anywhere, and I thought it was motion controlled. So I'm like, where's my hands? That's just stressing me out even more. And
To be a fly on the wall in that room.
oh, exactly. It wouldn't have been pretty.
Oh, that is a really funny story. I'm glad we got. Now I have to wonder if I have any I've honestly far too many stories like that. But darkness is one thing. Actually, bringing it back to E-Bomb's world. When I was younger, here's the inception of my PTSD and anxiety. My brothers, what was that NSYNC song or Bye Bye Bye? That's NSYNC, right?
Yeah.
They played this thing where it was like a lyric video, and then like 2 minutes in, it was like the Exorcist face jumping out and scaring you.
Yeah.
That fucked me up for like, I'm not joking, like for the podcast. Like I literally was so scared for like 2 years, and I slept with my parents for like at least 2 weeks after that. I was like 7, but still. And like honestly, the dark used to scare me so long because of that. And then I
amazing.
Yeah, we eventually grew up, and now I do like sensory deprivation tanks, and I actually love the dark.
I've done those before too. Those are crazy.
So only con is I don't want to be naked during them. I wish I could wear pants, but other than that, really great time.
Yeah, they're such a trip. Do you do it with the music on or off?
I do everything off.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do too. It's a trip. If anybody doesn't know that, you're like you're in neutrally balanced salt water, right? And so you're like floating, but you can't really tell that you're floating because it's like the same as your body temperature. And after a little while, obviously I was stoned when I did this too, so there's like a little bit of overlap as to what the actual experience was. But after a little while, my girlfriend, she put it like I was a space mermaid. That's like that sums it up. I was a space merman floating through the ether.
It really is like an indescribable feeling, and also I feel like it's different for everyone. I literally like sometimes I'll talk to myself during it because
I love it.
You really have no control. Like literally, you don't have senses in that moment, and it's weird. And the floating part's really weird because you think like if you're used to floating on water, like in a pool, like you still your muscles are still like clenched to like hold you up. But this, you're like you don't no muscles are being used. Yes. You just exist. It's really fun.
Exactly. You're entirely weightless and there's no stimuli, so your brain just fills in the gaps.
Has any tracks come out of sensory deprivation tank for you?
No, that's a good idea. I should make something like that. The closest thing that I've got is theme for a Himalayan salt lamp off of my first record. That's probably the closest.
Himalayans love a good salt lamp.
Me too. I have licked one, and I can confirm they are salty.
They are salty.
I don't know what impurities that it sucked from the air I consumed.
All of them.
All of them. I probably need to be exercised. That's probably the whole explanation of this whole career, right?
The drawer thing that my salt lamp's on is actually just covered in like salt goo at this point. I should probably clean and get a new one. Scoobert Doobert, Big Hug, out now if you're listening, coming out Friday. You had mentioned some other things in the works. Yeah. What can you tell us? What's coming next? We have tour, show. I know you mentioned some remixes. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so I am working on some remixes. Hopefully, we'll be able to share the details of the artists soon because I'm very, very stoked. Also working on some collabs, same deal. Gonna be dropping a hyperpop song in November.
Okay.
With my buddy Robel. That's gonna be a trip. It's called 5G Baby. So look out for that. On the 22nd, I think it's the 22nd of this month, I'm also dropping a theme song for an award show called The Wavies. That's going to be in New York City, and with one of my friends, Celeste Krishna. She was featured on it, and we're going to be dropping that on the 22nd. That's a nice vibe just like you'd expect. Nice summertime wavies, even though it's like late October. And
Summer where you are.
I just finished my first EP for next year, so gonna be dropping that in the early stuff. So I'm like 6 months ahead with music stuff right now. And then the podcast too. That's another thing. I'm trying to make a podcast to make people love music more, and so that's the loose concept. And then the way that it's filled out is a combination of, taking music theory and making it like approachable, hopefully talking about like music history and the way that like influence works, as well as taking a look at my songs and breaking them down track by track, stem by stem, and giving some people insight into kind of how I think about music, and then hopefully spurring them on to listen a little deeper and think about music a little bit more, and not just consume it, but instead participate in it and be a critical, not critical in the negative sense, but critical in the way like the more good food you eat, or the more like sushi you eat, the better you are at identifying like that's good sushi. The same kind of thing with music. I want to help be a little shaman guide on the journey of music. So that's Music Appreciation 101 on Spotify.
That is amazing. When I listened to it, I was like, damn, like this isn't like I know that it, you do other things, but it didn't seem like it was a side project. It's very well produced and thought out, especially where you break down that can't be a short to make.
I think I've kind of like reacquainted myself with the concept of like short and fast, where if you're doing something that's effortless, it'll be faster because you're not like fighting upstream. And that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. They're usually, however long they are, it usually takes me double that. So like a 20-minute thing, it'll take me 40 minutes to record. Because I'm trying to speak off the cuff, and honestly, there's going to be ums and ahs and stupid things said, I'm sure. But at the same time, I think there's something there other than reading a book. You're hearing it just off the dome. This is how I actually feel, not how I feel filtered through several layers of editing. And so, I think that by being honest and not swimming upstream, things can happen faster, in the same way that I do that with my music, where I try and, make these songs pretty quickly and mix them pretty quickly, because at the end of the day, it's a vibe, it's a moment. And if you dwell in that moment for too long, that moment's going to either change or die, or it won't be that same thing. So like one of my buddies, I'm droning on, but one of my buddies, totally his band is named Okudoxige. I've done some songs with him. I have a song called Happy Birthday with him that I really like from my Mass and Monsters record from last year. He lamented to me how weird it is as a songwriter to write something and then let it sit for a while and then record it. And by the time you record it, you've lost a lot of the nuance that happened in its inception. Like maybe you changed a chord or a note just slightly, things that maybe you don't even consciously are aware of. And then once you get the recording finalized, you're like, it's missing something. And it's all those little nuances of that emotion, of that feeling, the way you sang it, the little tiny things and nuances of how you played it on guitar. So I'm trying to take the songwriting in that moment and squish it with the recording as quickly as possible. So it's like, this is the idea. Here you go.
I love that. I feel like that can translate to other aspects of life and other projects as well. So I will definitely hone in on that. I think that's something I need to actually hone in on.
Yeah, I mean, like I needed to too. It's a constant practice, right? It's like you have to implement it, and that's one of the things that, like the "Don't Worry" song, worrying about worrying, these meta worries and stuff. This is a way to fight against it, to me.
Yeah, I've even like when I like kind of related, but if I like send an email or something, it's like I gotta stop overthinking the email. Just hit send. Like like. We had an artist invite us to the show the other day, and I was so scared to say and I was like, how do I word it? And Devin's on tour right now, so I couldn't send it to her. So I was literally just like, yes, I will go. Thank you for the invitation. Like that's all I needed to say. I didn't need to overthink anything. But obviously on the more creative aspect, like when if you have these little ideas in whatever moment, to just kind of go with your gut is something that I think it seems like you do, and I could utilize or use.
Thanks. And you can always just not release it. There are plenty of things that I just didn't release. But so my buddy Sam, he talks to me about being a finish freak. And that's what I'm trying to wear too, be a finish freak. And then you can always decide what you do with it after it's done. But having too many, like I feel this with the producers a lot, particularly producers that don't write their own top lines, they'll have, hundreds of beats that are like in weird half areas. But then I'll come to them and be like, oh, here's just a acapella, and they'll knock out a beat for it, and we'll be able to release it in a week. And it's like, what changed? What's the difference? You had somebody else giving you a little bit of energy, and you finished something. And now look how proud of it you are because you finished it. Just like not letting things dwell in that middle space as much as possible. Get it done and then decide what to do with it. For art, I think and I guess for most things in life, most creative output.
Amen. Honestly, that right there is going to be the show clip that we use as like the recap, because I think that one just summarizes a lot of the vibe, like just kind of what you radiate from your branding as well as your music. Cool. And then it's just really great advice to live by. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it works for me. It took me a while to get here. I've put out music as other projects that I do not think is nearly as cool, that I spent way more time and money on. Take that as it goes, And I'm so glad to hear that this is coming off of me, because I'm really trying to live by this.
No, 100%. Genuinely, really does.
That. Thank you.
That's why I was excited to get you on the show too, not just because I appreciate your music, but I knew we'd have a good conversation.
Cool. I had a great time.
Likewise. Well, we always wrap up every interview with this question.
Yes.
Where do you hope to see yourself in 1 year's time?
1 year's time, I'd like to be playing. I'd like to go on the road. And honestly, heart of heart, I want to be in Japan. Not necessarily have to live in Japan. I speak Japanese. I want to be doing stuff with the Japanese music industry. So
Have you been
I need
before?
to speak that into it. Oh yeah, I've been.
Okay.
Before COVID, the only one time, right before COVID, I was there January and February of 2020.
Okay. I mean, hey, at least you got like it in.
I got it.
Did you come home because, or was it just happened to come home?
It was just for fun. I just wanted to go see it. I was there for like 17 days and just bounced all around the country, got the train pass, was doing my thing. And I don't know, like Tokyo's cool and stuff, but I really like the countryside. I love mountains. I love people. I love conversation. And so just like getting into a place where I walk into a restaurant and they're like, yeah, leave. And then I can drop some Japanese and they'll be like, hey, what up? And then we hang out all night and have beers and share good times. It was like a dream come true. So I want to be doing that, but with music. I want to be jamming with people and working with people over there too.
That is awesome. I mean, I really hope that comes true for you. And I feel like it is very possible.
Thank you, man. I'm not quite, my name's a little silly in Japanese. Scoobert Doobert. It's a little weird.
Sounds cool though. Maybe you should just start branding yourself like that so that it catches on.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate this a lot. I'm really glad we finally got to connect. I know that we've been kind of connected for a little bit online. Genuinely huge fan of your music. Really loved Big Hug, and I can't wait for the world to hear it. Of course, we're putting their tracks on the Music You're Missing Spotify playlist.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and hopefully you enjoy some of these tunes, too.
Likewise. All right. Absolute pleasure. This is always the weirdest part, is saying goodbye, and then I need to get up, and it turns into this whole thing, and then usually Devin's here, and we're fighting each other, but this time I'm just going to do it. Awesome. Absolute pleasure. Take care. I can't hear you after I take my headphones off.
Okay. Take it easy.